Hare Krishna.
This day is Gauranga ki. Very fortunate, extremely fortunate that after a very uh, long separation from of Gauranga Guru from the IIT Bombay campus, especially when it comes to giving satsang programs, we have Gauranga Guru spare his time and make himself available for this very humble offering, the form of satsang. And of course, his lectures and his talks are world famous. His activities and leaderships, both in the governing council of ISKCON as well as the Govardhan village and many important such projects, are also very well known to many. In fact, he was invited some time back by TechFest for a talk in recognition not only of his leadership but also the guidance he has imparted to so many students. I myself and several others here have been extremely fortunate to have received his guidance, his satsang, his association uh, for nearly decade. Gauranga used to actually come week to the campus. So many of us were at the Hanuman temple today morning. Um, uh, the entire journey began in one very good, very, very generous god brother of ours, is Shyam Charan Prabhu, uh, maybe 100 meters from the Hanuman temple. Just 100 meters, right? Um, so, we of course are missing Shyam Charan Prabhu, who's in Vrindavan right now. But it began not just as weekly lectures, but as a family where we would cook together, eat together, have sadhana together. And Prabhuji would actually not just come once a week, he would come and spend several days a week when he would come. Several devotees here would be testimony to his association. And things, of course, also graduated from uh, that setup to the first Bhaktivedanta Academy for Cultural Education base. And the first one came up at IIT Bombay. Very grateful to Gauranga Prabhu for leading that. Of course, my father also was very kind and generous. Um, and both Gauranga Prabhu and my father happened to be cousins, well, one hop cousins. So we also are related to Gauranga Prabhu. That's also unfortunate. Gauranga Prabhu did his bachelor's from IIT Bombay. This was 80. 93. So 93, 93. Yeah, 93 graduated, joined in 89. Uh, and he was at the Hostel 6. And now, in some time, Hostel 6 might go for demolition. Yeah, so we should actually have.
Should go for a visit.
Go and visit there. Hostel 8 got
It's gone wing. It's gone wing.
there was very famous ISKCON wing in Hostel 6. Um, and a very transformative journey for many devotees, Gauranga Prabhu, Radhesham Prabhu, who played very pivotal role. Radhesham Prabhu was not in Hostel 6.
No, Hostel 5.
Hostel 5 was, yeah, he was in Hostel 5. I also happened to be in Hostel 5 much later. Other very important aspect of Gauranga Prabhu's lectures has been his intense absorption in Srimad Bhagavatam. Um, he used to give, back then he had more time, so he used to give Bhagavatam Katha, Bhagavatam Saptaha. He loves speaking on Bhagavatam, and probably we'll get a small glimpse of that today. But those who are interested in getting in deeper, certainly welcome to go on YouTube or ISKCON Desire, which was many of his classes, but also do go and hear him when he gives his live katha. So, with this very humble offering, thank you again, Gauranga Prabhu, for coming here. Let's welcome Gauranga Prabhu by very from our heart, loudly chanting Hari Hari Bol.
My nephew is also here. Grand nephew. What's your name? Huh?
Satyajit.
Satyajit. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Om
Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Nirvichesh Punyavadi Pashtakti Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for Hare Prabhu for inviting all of us for satsang at your home. I'll speak on the effect of Srimad Bhagavatam in our lives when we associate and connect with the Bhagavatam. Srinavata Shraddhaya Nityam Granadascha Svacheshtitam Kalena Nati Dirghena Bhagavan Vishute. So in the first canto, Maharaj Parikshit, he expresses on the verge of death that by hearing and studying the Srimad Bhagavatam, which states Shraddhaya, Nityam, regularly, Swacheshtitam, and putting one's sincere efforts. What is the effect? Kalena na atidirghena. Very quickly, Bhagavan Kushute Huti, Krishna becomes manifest in the heart. So the world is looking at how to see peace, unity, synergy. The last 50 years has seen more conflict than ever before in history. And the reason for all those external conflicts is the intensity and the frequency of the internal conflicts has grown. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada, when he started translating the Srimad Bhagavatam in 1956, between 55 to 65 and 10 years, Srila Prabhupada translated only the first canto of Srimad. Only the first canto, which was divided into 3 volumes. And in that, there is a verse where Narad Muni explains to Vyasadeva, Tadvag Visargo Janataghavi Navo Yasmin Pratishloka Abhaddhavatapi. So, the cause of all conflict is the sinful life being lived by people in this world. So when there is sin, the effect of that sin is in conflict and war. And that creates trauma individually and collectively. People, plant, planet, everything gets affected. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada came up from the Srimad Bhagavatam that there is a spiritual solution possible for the material problems we are experiencing. And that is Prasade Sarva Dukkhanam Hanirasya Upajayati Prasanna Chetasa Yashu Buddhi Parivatishta. That you have little control over external situations and circumstances. You cannot have unlimited political control. You cannot have unlimited financial control. You cannot have unlimited control over natural resources. You cannot have control over policy. Practically, most of the areas outside are beyond your control. But the only thing you can control is your own consciousness. How you can elevate your consciousness. And therefore, the whole principle of spirituality is accepting that the external circumstances will go on degrading and changing beyond our control. In that helpless state, how a spiritual practitioner should not become hopeless, but rather work on transforming himself spiritually from within. When I look at a skyscraper, it looks overwhelming when I stand next to it. But when I go on a flight and look down at the skyscraper from the top, 40,000 feet, that skyscraper turns out to be a small matchbox. The size of the skyscraper has not changed. My height has not changed. What has changed is my perspective, from where I am looking at that. So therefore, all spiritual traditions, they speak about transformation in your perspective by elevating your consciousness. So when you elevate your consciousness, then you look at things from a totally different positive perspective. And that is what the Gita says, Prasade Sarva Dukkhanam Hani. All distresses can be destroyed. You may think, how can all distresses be destroyed? There is poverty, there is environmental degradation, there is crime, there is addiction, there is this and that. The whole world is full of distresses. And Krishna says, Dukkhale Mashasham. And another verse is saying, Prasade Sarva Dukkhanam Hani. So externally, you cannot stop. But internally, we have full power and ability to transform our consciousness and elevate it and make it perfectly pure. And therefore, all the Vedic literatures, spiritual traditions, they encourage us to transform ourselves internally. Come little ahead.
Please come a little ahead. Oh, please come a little ahead. This way. Oh, I did.
How do we do that? We transform ourselves internally by the process of association. And that's what here Maharaj Parikshit is describing. Association with transcendental sound. Association does not mean just being physically near someone. Association means allowing access to a sound vibration which is coming from a different plane. And that is what is going to create the spiritual revolution. And so Parikshit says, Vayam dhanyatama loke gurupi kshatra bandhavam Vayam pibamo muhastvatta punyam krishna kathamritam. We are the most fortunate. Dhanyatama. So Srila Prabhupada says there is fortunate, more fortunate, and most fortunate. And so he says, who is fortunate? One who gets association of devotees is fortunate. We are fortunate. To get that association of devotees is a great fortune. And what is that association of devotees inspire you? to change your intention. The main change which happens in the association is transformation in the intention. So there are 4 levels of intention as per the Bhagavad Gita. Under the mode of ignorance, tamogun, there is intention caused by fear. That's what Uddhav says. Tapatrena bhitasya ghore santapyamanasya bhavan vanisha pasyavinanyaksharam tavanguri dvandva patrat amrita vivarsha. That I'm experiencing constant torment and fear because of the influence of my mind and my senses. And therefore, when I feel if I don't do this, I will go through this. If I don't do this, this is what will happen. So there is an anxiety, and that anxiety pushes you or forces you to work. That is intention caused by fear. I tell this story spoken by Brahmatirth Prabhu. He went to a conference and got someone's business card, and there was a, name, and below the name was educational qualification. It said PhD BF. He said, "What's BF?" He said, "PhD but failed." So he said, "What is the meaning of that?" He said, "I didn't want to do PhD, but my father wanted me to do PhD because 2 of my cousins, they were doing PhD." So comparison is the thief of joy. Comparison is the thief of joy. And so the world is discussing how to battle cancer. 20 million people per annum, they die prematurely because of cardiac issues, cardiovascular diseases. 10 million die because of cancer. But more deadly than physical cancer is cancer of the mind and the emotions. Comparing, complaining, and criticizing are the cancers of the mind. And this is what the world is going through. And therefore, when we get into that trap, then we cannot come out of it. So that the fear of losing something, when it drives you, it's tamogun, mode of ignorance. Above fear is the intention caused by desire, ichha. And when one acts under the influence of desire, the desire to conquer, the desire to demonstrate who I am, the desire to earn more, whatever. Yes, tvaya manda bhagyokto madanyo jagadishwaram vaso yadi sarvatra kasmat stambhena drishyate. The famous battle between Hiranyakashipu and his son Prahlad. Prahlad was completely self-satisfied. He was totally devoted to Lord Vishnu. And here is Hiranyakashipu, who is totally obsessed. And the Srimad Bhagavatam shows Hiranyakashipu was very loving towards Prahlad. He held Prahlad on his lap, embraced him, was crying tears also. He acknowledged that I love my son. And that's how we fool ourselves many times. But superficially, we act and we forget that the person we love the most is ourselves only. We have an eternal love affair in the conditioned state with our ego. False ego. And so in this verse, at the end, Hiranyakashipu reveals, spills the beans. His psychology is revealed. And he says, "O Prahlad, low class Prahlad, Madanyo Jagadishwara, How can you worship someone else apart from me, who is Jagadishwar? I am the Jagadishwar, worshipping somebody else. Vasau yadi sa sarvatra, tasmat stambena drishyate. If he is everywhere, is he not there in this pillar? So the word here, Madanyo Jagadishwar. How can someone else be superior to me? So therefore, the desire caused by the ego that I am better than others, I am the best, I am supreme, and I will not listen to anybody. And so Hiranyakashipu represented that principle of wanting to conquer over everyone. And he could not tolerate Prahlada's few words, not accepting him as supreme. So that's the mode of passion. I tell the story that in Bhaktivedanta hospital, in the operation theatre, they had photo of Narasimhadev and Prahlad, and Narasimhadev ripping apart Hiranyakashipu's tomb. So just before surgery, one patient looked at that photo. He got bewildered. He asked the doctor, what is that? Doctor was a devotee. He thought it's a good chance to preach. The doctor said that is the first surgery in history. The patient said, what was the result of that surgery? And the doctor said, operation successful, patient was liberated. So what Narasimhadev did to Hiranyakashipu with his nails, brought him to the edge, right at the entrance at the time of dusk. Nantar bahir divanaktam manyasmata pichayudhai. Na bhumau namare mrityu na nareg na mrigairapi. From Brahmaji, Hiranyakashipu had all these benedictions. Just like Hiranyakashipu, the false ego cannot be destroyed on the earth. The ego cannot be destroyed in the sky. The ego cannot be destroyed outside the home. The ego cannot be destroyed inside the home. The ego cannot be destroyed by any weapons, living or dead. And the only way to destroy ego is by the grace of the blessings of devotees who please Krishna, and then Krishna frees us from the influence of that ego. Therefore, Arjuna calls Krishna in Bhagavad Gita Madhusudana, one who has destroyed ego, the demon of the ego and doubts. So therefore, when we are engaged with a desire, and that desire can sometimes be the cause of our great downfall. When we start thinking that yes, Hiranyakashipu was thinking, nobody is better than me. So Srila Prabhupada told one disciple, you are not the best at anything. We are simply trying to serve. And therefore, whatever was the effect of Narasimhadev's nails on Hiranyakashipu, how do we activate that effect on our ego? It is by following the desires and the words and the instructions of our other gurus and devotees, by submitting ourselves to their desire. So therefore, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya Uru Eita Se Trina Peka Autihina. Kripa Bindu, by the drops of grace, drops of mercy. Gradually, it dissolves the ego. Just like cough drops, nose drops, throat drops, eye drops. When you put those drops the congestion in those parts is dissolved. So what will dissolve the congestion of the ego? It is the drops of mercy which come from the devotees by the pleasure of the devotees. That is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. Kripa bindu diya, koro ei dase, trina pekha atihina, so that we can become lower than the blade of grass. When Srila Prabhupada was a Grahastha, his name was Abhay Charan Veer. He was staying in Sitakant Banerjee Lane, Kolkata. On the first floor of Srila Prabhupada's house, the Gaudiya Math had been given a place for studying Sanskrit. And one of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada's disciples, whose name was Dol Govinda Shastri, he was teaching Harinamamarta Vyakaran there. And Srila Prabhupada was sitting on the stairs between the ground floor and the first floor. Srila Dol Govinda Shastri came out and sat next to Prabhupada and said, Abhay Babu, I just gave lecture on one verse. Prithvi Tyache Jota Nagaradi Gram Sarvatra Prachara Huile Moranam. In every town and village name will spread. But I don't know how it will go. Srila Prabhupada got up, took 2 steps down, pointing towards Dol Govinda Shastri. He said, if Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has made that prediction, it must happen. And then Prabhupada took 2 steps down, further turned around, and pointing towards Dol Govinda Shastri, he said, one day, a fool who surrendered at the lotus feet of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur will make it. And then Prabhupada kept walking down. And Dol Govinda Shastri, who was also Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati disciple, for a moment he thought, will that be me? And Prabhupada took 2 steps down, turned around and pointed towards Dol Govinda Shastri and said, it will not be. Dol Govinda Shastri became very upset. So what does Abhay Babu think? Will he do it or not? How can he do it? He is only a Grihastha with so many responsibilities and is doing, all this business, always thinking about money. He cannot do it. But bhakti is not dependent on which ashram you stay. Just like treatment in a hospital does not depend on which ward you are in. Hospital treatment depends on whether how sincerely you take the medicine, how sincerely you follow the doctor's order. The treatment and the recovery depends on that. Somebody in general ward may, recover faster than somebody in a, luxury room. So it all depends on treatment. So Prabhupada, he actually sincerely followed the instruction of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and showed by his example how the transformation is possible just by having that faith. And therefore, in the Sakshi Gopal pastime, that younger Brahman, he says that Eva ke ache mara Sakshi Mahajan jar vakya satyapuri mani tribhuvan. I have faith in the authority of Krishna. I believe in Krishna's consistency and faith in his ability to reciprocate with his devotees. So Srila Prabhupada, when he went to the West, he had no assets with him. He had no money. But transformation in spiritual life is not dependent on assets. If you are setting up a startup, the most important thing you need is funds. But in spiritual life, the most important thing you need is not assets, but attitude. And Srila Prabhupada, he did not have money, he did not have age on his side, he did not have support of too many people, he did not have political support, he did not have social connects. but all he had was faith in the words of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, wanting to fulfill that desire. And based on that, everything changed. Sheshalilar Sutrakan Purikichu Vivaran Iha Vistarite Chitta Hoy Thake Jadi Ayushesh Vistare Balila Shesh Jadi Mahaprabhu Kripa Hoy. Abhiraj Goswami says, I'm writing the Antalila synopsis in Madhya. Why? Because age is not on my side. I'm 90 plus, I can die any moment. Therefore, I want to give this gift before I depart. Thake Jadi Ayushesh Vistare Balila Shesh. So what is important is the service attitude. And then when the attitude is there, which is the core requirement, then whatever assets are there to perform that seva, whether it comes or doesn't come, it is secondary. And therefore Kaviraj Goswami says, Thake Jadi Ayushesh Vistariva Lila Shesh Jadi Mahaprabhu. It is the Lord's grace, it is His service. If He wants us to serve in prosperity, we will serve in prosperity. He wants us to serve in poverty, we will serve in poverty. If He wants us to serve in popularity like Lakshman, we will serve like Lakshman. If He wants us to serve in the midst of a lot of criticism like Bharat, we will serve like that. But the service continues. And therefore, when Prabhupada he wanted to make one of his disciples president of a temple, this devotee did not want to become president. He wrote a long list of points how he is not qualified to be president. Placed it in his pocket and came to the meeting and offered obeisances and said, Srila Prabhupada, you called me? Prabhupada said, yes. So this devotee knew that now he's going to become president. So he says, Prabhupada, how can I serve you? Prabhupada said, become sannyasi. Take sannyas. So he thought, no, Prabhupada is joking. He says, Srila Prabhupada, how is it possible? I'm so young. Prabhupada said, so what? Age is not a criteria. It's Prabhupada, I'm married. Prabhupada said, so what? Your wife will be taken care of. Don't you? It's Prabhupada, I have a small son. Prabhupada said, so what? Krishna will take care. It's Prabhupada, I don't have control over my senses. Prabhupada said, take sannyasi. Control will come. He realized he is completely in a corner. He looked at Prabhupada and said, I will do anything except take sannyas. Prabhupada said, so we may think, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, I want to do that. Many times situations are such that either we voluntarily surrender or circumstances force us to surrender. So therefore, if we have our own intentions based on desire, that will also not be the highest. Third level of intention is intention caused by duty, sense of duty. This is my duty, I must do this. That's very important. So when we do that as a sense of duty, we get purified. And highest is we do things out of a sense of love. Pragada pramer e subhava achar nijrupika vigna virna parichar bahuk parishrama chandana remuna anila ananda badila mane dukkha na hone. That when there is intense pain in performing a service, one does not count that, because counting means business. Whereas love means giving, giving, giving and forgiving. So therefore the whole principle of love is, what can I do to serve and please Krishna and his devotees? So that is, the core principle which is described here. When Srila Prabhupada went to America and he preached Krishna consciousness all over the world. And then he came back to India and he was sitting on Juhu temple. And when Mr. Brijratan Mohta entered into Prabhupada's presence, Prabhupada introduced him and he said, "This is Mr. Mohta, very big businessman, relative of the Birlas." Mr. Mohta said, "Swamiji, you went to America with 40 rupees in your pocket. Now you have temples worth 40 crore rupees all over the world. You are the real businessman." Prabhupada immediately said, "Why don't you join my business?" Mr. Mohta said, "I will support you from outside." And so Srila Prabhupada, when he was told, "Why are you opening these temples? You want to get everyone into your temple or what?" Prabhupada said, "No. We don't have, first of all, place in our temples to fit the whole world. Our mission is not to fit everybody into our temple. Why we are running temples all over the world is so that people can come to the temple, get inspired, and transform their homes into the temple." And transforming the home into a temple means doing three things: Krishna Nam, Krishna Katha, and Krishna Prasad, and keeping the deities in the center. And Prabhupada said the Grihasthas spend their Lakshmi in 5 ways. First part of the money should be spent in worshipping Krishna. Second part of the money should be spent in serving the Vaishnavas. Third part of the money should be spent in distributing prasadam to the human beings. Fourth part of the money should be used for distributing prasadam and food to other living entities. And fifth part should be used for pleasing our forefathers. And therefore the whole principle of Grihastha ashram is all about utilizing our facilities and resources to serve and to please and to distribute in the mood of dana. And therefore, that's the idea where Srila Prabhupada wanted everybody to transform their homes into it. So when Lord Chaitanya is going to South India, he's telling Sarabham Bhattacharya, "Ghore Krishna bhaji more kora ashirvade, nilachale asijena tomara prasade." I am a sannyasi. I am taking blessings of the Grihastha. Sarabham Bhattacharya. What blessings that I can come back from South India on time. So Srila Prabhupada writes in the Purport, Grihastha is supposed to take blessings from sannyasi. Lord Chaitanya is asking Grihastha to give blessings. Why? Because the important thing is not which ashram you are in, but the important thing is how you are taking shelter of Krishna and pleasing Krishna. So when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya kept deities at his home, and he was pleasing the deities at home, Advaita Acharya had deities at home and pleasing them. So Lord Chaitanya says that actually I am extremely pleased with those who offer the bhoga to the Lord every single day and cook with the intention to please the Lord. Right? And so, Janme Janme Shire Dharo Tahar Charan. Life after life, I take the dust of the feet of such devotees upon me. Which means all we have to do is change the intention. Everybody has to eat. But you cook for pleasing yourself versus you cook to please the deities. Once you change the intention, automatically everything changes. Right? So therefore, Acharyare Shraddha Bhakti Gruha Sampadhane Sapala Sapala Huila. Prabhurara. Advaita Acharya made his Shraddha, Bhakti, Griha, Sampatti, Dhan, everything successful by engaging it in Lord's service. So that's the idea of Krishna consciousness, where we enable people to transform their homes into a temple. So many times people say that, oh, nahi, bhakti is only for all of you people who are in brahmacharya ashram, sannyasi. बाकी हम लोग कैसे करेंगे भाई, इतना खतरनाक शेड्यूल है हमारा, इतने बिजी हैं हम, how is it possible? One time I was in an airport, an 80-year-old man came running behind me, Swamiji, Swamiji, Gita diji. I said, I don't have Gita now, मंदिर में. He said, मैं 80 साल का हो गया, सही उम्र है ना गीता शुरू करने. So he said, आप करते क्या हो? He said, मैं CA हूँ. I said, चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट. बोले नहीं, कंप्लीट आराम. So one may think that one will start at some point, but that point never comes. Therefore, the satsang must happen as soon as possible. That's what Parikshit Maharaj is glorifying. Right? Somebody joined our ashram many years ago. His father was arguing with me. This is not his age to join ashram. When he's my age, he should join. I said, let the son go. We join. He became bewildered. He said, घर पे पूछ के बताऊंगा. Next day he came and said, बेटे को ही रहने दे. So Parikshit Maharaj is saying, Vayam Dhanyatama. One who gets association is fortunate. One who gets, who's more fortunate? One who gets to hear and chant in that association is more fortunate. Because one may come, sit in the, go into the temple, take prasad and go. One may not sit and hear. One may not take to the process of chanting. And therefore, Chaitanya Charitamrita describes Krishne Namavishtamana Sada Haridas Harandirodit Hoida Tridhava Prakash. Krishne Nam Avishtamana. Thakur Haridas had alignment between his intention, his supplication, and his action. Unless there is intention between these three, what you desire, what you express, and what you actually act, there will be distraction. Distraction is caused due to this misalignment between these three. Absorption means there is perfect alignment between what you are desiring, what you are praying for, and what you are ultimately acting. So Thakur Haridas is described as Krishna Nama Avishta, is completely absorbed. Sada Haridas. And there were so many distractions around. Maya was coming, this one was coming, that one was coming. You may think, I'm having so many distractions in Kali Yuga, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram. Haridas Thakur had nothing. He was sitting in cave. He was sitting in forest. But still distraction came. Maya Devi herself. All of these, distractions put together, personification. And Thakur Haridas was not posting his chanting videos on YouTube. Viral. 10 million views, 20 million views. And because of which Ramchandra Khan became envious. Views बढ़ रहे हैं. खत्म करना पड़ेगा. He was just sitting in the middle of a forest chanting, and someone becomes envious. Envy का कोई कारण नहीं. ना उसको कोई प्रोजेक्ट मिला ना फंडिंग मिला। आज के शब्दों में झोंकी मार रहे थे बाहर की दुनिया की दृष्टि से। You were just sitting and chanting, sincerely chanting. But if there has to be trouble, and Krishna wants to orchestrate trouble, he can orchestrate in the middle of a forest for a person who's sitting without doing anything else. So when you are doing too many projects and too many things, sometimes the fantasy becomes सत्य बोल दे। आपने जब माना लेके so you never know. There are caves I know in Rishikesh which are under Supreme Court conflict. There is dispute over ownership of cave. No joke. Maharaj has, Tatwale Baba, this cave is under Supreme Court conflict on possession. गुफा के ऊपर भी हो सकते हैं, आपको लगेगा फ्लैट के ऊपर ही होते हैं। So therefore, Thakur Ravidas was sitting and chanting completely outside. So that is the second principle. Who is more fortunate? One who gets to hear and chant in that association. So one who gets association is fortunate. One who gets to hear and chant in association is more fortunate. Who is most fortunate? Who gets prasada food. Who is most fortunate is one who gets to repeatedly hear and chant. That's what Parikshit is saying. I am most fortunate. Why? I am getting to hear and chant. That means ask questions and hear for 7 days. Repeated. Shrunashva avahito rajan api guhyam vadamite groyosniktasya shishyasya guravo guhyam apyutam. Great souls reveal the truth to those who are submissive and humble. And therefore, I am fortunate to be the recipient of this knowledge from Shukadeva Goswami. So when we act on this platform and acknowledge that we are grateful, we have the satsanga where we get to hear and chant. Our mind may convince us, you have this problem, you have that problem, you have this problem, you have that problem. But your intelligence should overpower the mind. And that intelligence should have clarity. So you need absorption in your sadhana, intensity in your sadhana, consistency in your seva, and sensitivity in your dealings with other sevaks. This is the formula for steady progress in spiritual life. When there is intensity in sadhana, when there is consistency in seva, and when there is sensitivity in dealing with sevaks, then Krishna becomes pleased. So we find ourselves very fortunate. And I was studying in IIT, and some devotees came and gave association. Right? They used to come from initially ISKCON Juhu. ISKCON Juhu devotees used to bring. They used to come in auto. And some of my friends were so naughty, that before even the preacher would get down from the auto, they would come and steal away the prasad. Prabhuji, 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 they'll come and somebody will start holding the Prabhuji's feet. Somebody will start embracing, another guy will steal the and bring the empty dabba later. So, but gradually through the association, things started transforming, changing. And I remember that one of our devotees, was also very much eager to change the onion, garlic, and other things. We tried changing the mess and all that, but not possible. So we started our own cooking. The devotee who preached to us, he was very, strong. He said, we will do our own cooking. I said, have you cooked? But then another devotee was with him. He said, I can take care of it. I said, have you cooked? He said, I have seen my mother cook. That made me nervous. But he went to his mother, took me along with him, and they were staying in Martin, packing all their stuff together from the home, taking all the vessels and this and that. His mother was bewildered. Said, what are you doing? Are you setting up a vada pav stall or what? No, we will make our own prasad. So she looked at me and said, Kya ho gaya mere bete? And I was looking at her thinking, maybe we should say. But somewhere we had to begin. And that was the beginning. That when Ahar Shuddham Sattva Shuddhi Sattva Shuddhi, when that changed, then gradually more and more people started connecting. And then in 1997, Radhanath Maharaj, 95, 96, Radheshyam Prabhu was coming. In 97, his responsibilities in Pune were growing, so Maharaj asked me to do. And then Gauranga Prabhu was the main organizer. And then gradually, our Vasudeva Prabhu, Gopinath Chandra Prabhu, Prajmohan Prabhu, Radhika Vamra Prabhu, and Anantir Prabhu, and Chaitanya Prabhu, all of them started connecting gradually. And then over a period of many years, we had the association of many senior devotees, including Radhanath Maharaj, stayed there 2-3 times. Many wonderful, opportunities to spread Krishna consciousness. And now we are sitting in Gauranga Prabhu's home, where he has opened his old home, which is a temple of Lord Jagannath or satsang, which is basically what the mission is: transform the home into a temple. And therefore, as a result of all of the efforts of the devotees across the world, now ISKCON has more than 1100 temples in 120 countries. And Srila Prabhupada, when he came to London, the reporter asked, why you came? And Prabhupada said, "Arey, Britishers looted from India, gold, ruby, emeralds. सब लूट के लेके गए, लेकिन भगवत गीता लूटना भूल गए, उसका होम डिलीवरी करने." Since then till date, 55 crore Gitas have been distributed in more than 80 languages. So therefore, we are very grateful that today, by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, in at least 600 to 700 colleges across India, ISKCON's Bhagavad Gita lectures are happening on a weekly basis. More than 500 bases are existing all across India. And we have 15,000 students in Indian college campuses who are chanting 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So what started off in 1995-96 as a small effort in a small room, beginning with hostel room in H1, then shifted to Shyamcharan Prabhu's house. It has now grown into a mass movement across India and is known as ISKCON India Youth Council. And their range of problems is different: how to engage them, how to keep them, challenged, nourished, this, that, because there are so many of them chanting and practicing seriously and sincerely. And whatever training devotees received in those years has become formal. for their life in both the Brahmacharya ashram and the Grihastha ashram. Because once you have the right foundations, then your journey progresses forward. So I remember when I was studying, I was in third year and I was having course on electrical engineering. I was referring to Sunil Rathi's book, Sri Gauranga was sitting here. I still remember Sunil Rathi H6. And then many years ago when I met him, he said, Sunil Rathi. I said, H6? He said, yes. I said, how do you know? I said, because I read your book. It was given down, from Evam Parampara. And I received that book. And then whatever we studied in IIT, we thought that's the end of the story with respect to our use of technology, because we're in Brahmacharya ashram, but Krishna had other plans and we were sent to Govardhani village. So there was still a lot of technology karma to learn. And in the GV, we were having all this, none of us wanted to go, but Radhanath Swami Maharaj really wanted us to go. Otherwise, there were only 2-3 brahmacharis staying there. There was one small kitchen building. And they used to live there, serve outside and come and sleep at night there, and they were all wild boars all around. But one of the brahmacharis would snore so loudly the boar would run away. Inbuilt security system. We felt it's very difficult. Nothing can be done. But Maharaj had the vision that ISKCON is present in urban areas very prominently, but ISKCON is still not present in rural areas. So we need to increase and enhance our presence in rural. So when we were setting up the Govardhan village, that is a time when our architect said we need green sewage technology. Do you know someone? And I said, I don't know anyone. Then we were sitting and having lunch, and Viplo Prabhu was sitting, and she started asking him what he does, what is his PhD. And when he said what his PhD was, she turned to me and said, hey, here's your friend, he's done a PhD in green sewage technology. He said, you don't know. You're hiding from me or what? I said, this guy was so miserable doing his PhD. I never bothered asking him, what is his PhD? He's doing something in chemical engineering. But majority of the time, he was so stressed out that this is not going right, this is not happening, that I never asked all details. So she said, this is the exact technology. And so, the green sewage technology, soil biotechnology, made by Viplo Patnaik and also his partner by Sri Gauranga Prabhu. So the technology is co-owned by IIT Mumbai. IIT Mumbai has a in that and executed by our fellow IITians in a project where IITians were quite active. So it was a very interesting synergy. And I remember interesting conversation with Sri Gauranga Prabhu when we were negotiating the price for the SBT. So he was stuck at 20 lakhs. So I said, finally, we will give as many rounds as you are chanting every day. He said, I'm studying 20 now. So because of that intervention, it has become such a feature. Radhanath Swami, for him, it is one of the most favorite places in the whole of Eco Village. And so many awards we got because of sustainability is thanks to that. So therefore, I'm saying that whatever knowledge you get in IIT through technology is also very, very valuable because you have to use it and apply it in a way which can transform the society for the positive. And then the technology of spiritual life you use for transforming your consciousness for the positive. So I'm grateful to each one of you for all that you have contributed through your personal lives, through your projects, through your wonderful support to the Krishna consciousness movement in your individual and family capacities. And heartfelt gratitude to Gauranga Prabhu, his mother and father, his good wife, and the two kids for making their home into a wonderful example of what a temple should be like in a home. I'm sure each one of you who is connected to the satsang will ultimately realize that you are not fortunate, you are not more fortunate, you are most fortunate. And with that most fortunate, we will allow you to also be most fortunate by honoring Prasad. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Do you have any questions you would like to take? Let's. Hare Krishna. We're extremely grateful to Gauranga Prabhu. I'm very glad to see so many of you come. There's actually midterms going on. So many of your friends are busy writing exams. There was 11:30 exam, there's a 1:30 exam. So these students don't have exams. These are students who don't have exams.
Forgive my midterm offense.
We are very grateful that first you could come. Thank you. I was a little worried if we'll have enough attendance to do justice to Gauranga Prabhu's arrival. So I'm especially grateful. It's been such an honor to have Gauranga Prabhu take us down and very late. He's been very generous, very kind, showering praise on others. But he cut short his own journey in Hostel 6. The journeys they had in trying to revolutionize the spread of Krishna consciousness on the campus, even during their stay. I'm sure we'll get to hear a lot more from Sunil Rati, whose books you benefited from. We'd like to hear from you maybe after this session, because there's a lot that they did as a I know power-packed messengers of transformation during those early days, 1994. In fact, the entire wing is called ISKCON wing. I think for a long time it used to be called ISKCON wing. Even now, if you go at the hostel wardens remember that this was a ISKCON wing. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, and I think the same revolution you are reading about at the leadership levels, across temples, at the Governing Body Council. So your presence here itself is, I mean, he was to spend 2 days, but that has been compressed into 4 hours today. So that speaks volumes of how busy it has become for him. And also, as an exemplary disciple of Radha Swami, I think he again mentioned that very briefly, but the fact that he has not been spared for more association, giving us more association here, is testimony to the fact that he has such a strong place in the heart of his Guru, His Holiness Radha Swami Maharaj. He has such a deep place in the heart of His Holiness Radha Swami Maharaj, his Guru, that he has to rush back. So Radha Swami Maharaj was to fly today morning, and because of that he couldn't come yesterday, and now he is, I think, flying tomorrow. So he has to rush back to temple. It's like a right-hand person for all the projects that have been executed, especially as he mentioned, Gauranga village. And again, it was very generous in giving credit to others, which is due, but at the same time, a lot of credit to him for revolutionizing many aspects through Gauranga village. It's an exemplar. It's not just a project. So let's express our heartfelt gratitude to God. I very gratefully, I think gratitude is a word we have heard from our dear friend Gokulam Sudharu today morning. Very gratefully chanting 3 times. Hari
So, thank you, Gauranga Prabhu.
And in the tradition of the Bhaktivedanta Research Center, Balram Leela Prabhu and Sumanta Doctor, who are leading the DLC efforts, they have prepared some nice gifts for well-wishers. So when we are at Gauranga Prabhu's house, I'd like to request Gauranga Prabhu's father, mother, his good wife, and the 2 children to come forward and receive gifts from the Bhaktivedanta Research Center. First one is a original handwriting prasadam prayers by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And then there is the original handwritten Gauranga Kiva Jayo. Bhaktivinoda Thakur's handwriting. And these are the original signatures of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, and Radhanath Swami. So these are all wonderful memorabilia created by Gauranga Adila Prabhu, and I would request, your family to accept it. Dr. Sumanta, please step forward. Mataji, please.
जिम करने गए थे?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Round of applause.
Since we are right in front of the deities, so we were very blessed to have Sri Sri Govardhan Dhari. The deities were named at Govardhan village by his Radhanath Swami Maharaj. So recently, we had the desire, my family especially, had a desire to have larger deities, 14 inch deities. So those deities are there. So the deities were shown to His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. They were shown in Govardhan village. So I reminded, in fact, Maharaj remembered. So when we showed those deities and requested the name, he said, I named them in Govardhan village. So he named these deities as Radha Giridhari. So it's Govardhan village all over the place. Thank you so much. We'll have the welcoming of the deities very soon too. We were just altar came in big larger altar. So all in time for
Other than this,
this is the altar. We had an older altar which could not accommodate the. Yes, the same before instead. Wish we could have the inauguration in your presence. So we can have picture. We can have a group photo. That's my awesome.
Statistics.
These are right ones. We can. Hare Krishna. We stop this training for now. Hare Krishna. Thank you, devotees, for joining.
Devotees all come here. Photo.
Oh, sir.
So before, I think before 2005.
it is.